Welcome everybody to the Multipli Podcast. My name is Josh Lopes. I am the COO and a growth partner at Multipli Tech. And I'm excited because right now we are doing a series for the podcast where we're focused on talking to owners and executives in the in-home care and in the healthcare world. And today we're excited to be joined by Matt Yaari. Matt is an owner and co-founder at My Family Home Care up in the Detroit metro area. Matt, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Josh. Looking forward.
Absolutely. We're excited to have you on. Matt, why don't you kick off here by tell us a little bit more about your personal and professional background?
Sure. Well, I started My Family Home Care in 2020, so we're in year 5, in the middle of the pandemic. Interesting time to get started with business.
Absolutely.
We were able to survive, and we've just been growing every year since. I guess I got into this space as a student when I got certified as a nurse aide back when I was in college. And at the time, the plan was to go to medical school. So I got certified as a nurse aide as a part of, my, medical training. And that's when I started working as a senior caregiver. So I did that for a couple of years. And once I graduated, I sort of had this realization, whatever you want to call it, that my heart was not in it as far as medical school, and I didn't want to push forward with that for something that I wasn't fully committed to. So after that, I took a job with actually a property management startup, and I did that for a couple of years and worked for some just startup entrepreneurs, and was able to learn from them on just what the process looks like as far as starting a business, the mindset, how to solve problems and put processes in place, identify inefficiencies and things like that. So I did that for a couple of years, and that gave me a lot more confidence as far as my ability to manage really any kind of operation. Again, just a lot of logistics and operation management, that type of stuff. And after working for them for a couple of years, I just kind of, decided it was time for me to go on my own and start my own little business here. And having had that caregiving experience, I knew it was a service that was very much needed, and I just felt confident in my ability to get this type of a service started, get it up off the ground, just keep on building. So my target date was the summer of 2020. So I was, again, working on the business plan before then, even before the first lockdown. So that happened. And then once things opened back up, I decided it was time to just get going and get it started. And we found our first client within a couple of months. And the rest is history. Just been, again, trying to make more connections and serve more families here in the Detroit area.
That's awesome, Matt. That's awesome. So you started as a student, cut your teeth in the insurance, and gained some sales and marketing experience that way. Decided after having decided that medical school wasn't for you, and then you guys just went for it. And that's the journey of entrepreneurship, right? Thrown right into the refining fire with COVID. What a way to cut your teeth.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. I did. I guess I forgot that piece of it. So I did the property management for a couple of years, and again, decided I was ready to start my own business, but wanted to get a little bit of sales and marketing under my belt. So I became an insurance agent for less than a year, again, just to go through their training program. That was in 2019, and combining that experience as well as property management, and then obviously the caregiving from when I was younger, put it all together and got this thing off the ground. And my business partner is just a good friend of mine from childhood who was a paramedic for 10 years over at University of Michigan Hospital and, their emergency response system. And he was looking for his own career change at the time. And it just kind of, the timing worked out. So he hopped on board, and we've just been kind of building this thing together.
That's awesome. Really cool, Matt. Well, I know most businesses don't make it 5 years, so congratulations to you, and especially most businesses that started during COVID that are based on going and meeting clients in their home. So I'm sure there was lots of challenges that you guys worked through, way to persevere. Now that you're 5 years in, what do you enjoy most about the space now? What do you enjoy most about what you and your team do day to day?
Yeah, that's a great question. Really it is, I don't know, it might sound cheesy, but it's building relationships with families who are really in a difficult situation, whether they have a loved one coming home from the hospital, or dealing with some form of cognitive decline. dementia, Alzheimer's, those types of things, and it can cause a lot of stress and for these families, and to be able to come in and provide caregivers who can be their eyes and ears in the home, and alleviate some of that stress. That really is what makes it all worthwhile.
Absolutely. That's awesome. That's awesome. So working with the families during very difficult times, I'm sure, and being able to be their eyes and ears and help them through those tough transitions. Question for you. How big is the team that you guys have now in terms of the My Family Home Care team? How many patients do you have on board, and what goals do you have for growth over the next year or so here?
Yeah. So as far as the administration or anything, it's really just me and my business partner handling everything, and then our staff of caregivers. We're extremely grateful. We have an excellent staff. We have probably just over 30 caregivers who are working week to week. A few of them full time, mostly part time, and we have an additional at least 30 to 40 caregivers that we've either worked with in the past or have recently interviewed that we have in our roster, our database, so that when we do get the next call. I literally just got a call right before this recording from a lady with a mother and her coming home from the hospital in a little bit. I forgot what else. Oh yeah, our goals. This year we're on pace to hit $1 million in revenue for the first time. So very, very excited for that. For us, I guess in this space, the basic metric is, how many hours of service are you providing per week? And our goal is to get to 1,000 hours per week. Right now, we're right around 750.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, it sounds like you're making it happen with a lean administrative team, you and your partner, and you're focusing in terms of the actual overhead, you're focusing on making sure that you have the right caregivers on board to provide awesome care to the clients that you guys are serving. Going from 750 to 1,000 hours, what's it take to make that happen, Matt?
I think it's really just about relationships, and what they say. It's not just who you know; it's who knows you, right? So people know that we're providing this service, and most of our business is coming from word of mouth. We have several relationships with different social workers who work in this space, and again, developing those relationships has been huge. It's a big part of our process, our strategy. Other medical professionals. We have, as well as some internet marketing, um, Google ads, things like that. We do get some calls from just people who find us online, but primarily, again, our focus is on developing relationships with other strategic referral partners who are also working with seniors in, a slightly different capacity. Or there's been a huge increase in placement services. And so people who are advising families who just, they don't really know what to do with their elderly loved one or which facility is the right choice. So there's been a explosion in that sort of career choice, whatever you want to call it, that type of service. So yeah, connecting with those types of services, and just people have to know what you do, regardless.
Absolutely.
Everybody has.
Yes, it sounds like you're hitting things on all fronts in terms of like the word of mouth, channel partners, developing the right relationships with people that can refer into your business, and doing some stuff online as well. So obviously, Matt, at Multipli, we're a tech agency. We do custom software, mobile apps, websites, and then we have fractional CFO services where a lot of that is we focus on helping clients implement AI to implement tools that can help them streamline their business all the way from top of funnel revenue generating activities to improving efficiencies on the back end with operations. So I'm curious, like as somebody who's an owner in the space, maybe it could be from your personal experience, what you and your partner have tried at My Family Home Care, or maybe it just what you're seeing in general in the space right now. What's happening in the world of marketing and tech as it relates to your business?
With marketing specifically, I'm not entirely sure as far as AI marketing, things like that. I know that's out there, but that's not something I really looked into a whole lot. If there were some opportunities out there, I'm certainly interested to see what's being developed in that aspect. Some of the things we have seen, two different tools that seem very, very um, interesting and beneficial. One of them is, I guess we'll call it like an AI sort of monitoring system, where you set up monitors or recording devices in the home. particularly for, a senior who may be living on their own. And then it has this AI system that kind of records their baseline activity and then is able to notify family members if it detects that like there's been an emergency or maybe they fell or something like that happened. So I mean, we see a lot of families are setting up cameras, but that's not really the same. I mean, you have to be watching the camera to know that something might have happened. But if you set something like this up, then this will know that, there's been some sort of emergency and, grandma's on the floor,
Right.
and it will be able to alert, the right people to go there and help her out. So that's one thing that we've seen. We haven't implemented that quite yet, but at some point we would certainly look into that and probably recommend it to certain clients if it's the right fit. The other thing that we are looking into right now is some tools on the back end as far as managing the schedule and managing our staff. In particular, if a lot of times caregivers might have to cancel last minute, maybe they got sick or they're having issues with their car, whatever it is, and having some sort of an automated system that can take that call or receive that text from the our staff member and then immediately be able to reach out to other caregivers who may be on call or available to come and cover a shift that obviously the original scheduled caregiver would not be available for. So that's something that we are doing right now. It's a 24/7 kind of thing, and having AI being there and being more responsive seems like it would be honestly a better way of serving our clients to make sure that we're on top of those things as quickly as possible.
Makes sense, Matt. Yeah, it's cool because like sometimes being in the thick of this on a day-to-day basis and working with a lot of different clients, I think sometimes people hear AI and they kind of like pucker up and get scared, right? They're like, oh man, AI is coming for my job. And what we like to say at Multipli is like when AI is implemented appropriately with something like what you're talking about, right? A monitoring tool or a scheduling tool. Let's let tech do what tech can do well so that people can do the things that only people can do well. And obviously, when it comes to somebody calling out, right, let's make sure that we can get somebody else. Like if technology can facilitate that handoff to getting somebody else in quicker, that allows more people to be focused on what you guys founded the company for, which is taking care of clients. So I think it's smart that you're looking into that. And the more we look into the space, there's stuff that's emerging every day in that realm of AI that can absolutely help with stuff on the back end and on the marketing and revenue generation side as well. So it's pretty cool. I applaud you for looking into it, Matt, because we talk to a lot of owners in the space and multiple service-based industries who they're kind of living in that land of fear, right? Maybe they dabble on ChatGPT for 5 or 10 minutes, less than 5 or 10 minutes per day. But the best way to get familiar with what's available in terms of AI and tech is just to dive in, right? Start getting on some demo calls, talk to people, and just become aware just by having an open mind and a growth mindset for what the future of your company can look like. So cheers to you.
Certainly, and I mean, I definitely understand where that fear might be coming from because I get emails all the time from people trying to sell me different AI things. And, for the most part, I wasn't like, is it trustworthy? Is it going to be reliable? There's a lot of questions. I kind of have a bit of an old school mentality. I probably got that from my dad. But again, I mean, earlier in the call, I mentioned that this is such a relationship based business. For example, one of the tools was to be able to answer those incoming calls from our clients. And that just didn't really seem right. You think these families want to know that they can reach us, me and my business partner. Again, we have those relationships. So I don't know if we'll implement something like that where we'll be answering phone calls from our clients. We want to be having that personal relationship there, but having, again, a tool on the back end that can just help us streamline operations and handle those, put out those fires more efficiently. And if there is a way to implement some customer service tools as well, while still maintaining our personal touch on everything and knowing that, our clients are still able to reach us and communicate with a real human being, is a big part of what we do. I think that I mean everybody's talking about AI and what are these robots going to do? And again, we have to just remember our own humanity and prioritize those relationships and use it as a tool. And you know, it is what we make out of it, I think.
Definitely. There's always going to be a blend. There's always going to be a blend. And it's crazy even over just the past 3 to 6 months, like with voice AI. I know you're talking about voice AI, inbound and outbound calls, what things looked like a year ago in terms of how realistic a voice was versus what it is now is pretty crazy. But at the same time, Businesses are going to constantly face ethical challenges. They're going to face the challenge of, hey, is this really how I want to be there for my customers? And there's puts and takes on both sides of this. And we absolutely recognize that. Businesses have to make the decision what's best for them and what's best for their customers. So I hear you. Matt, tell me this, kind of shifting away from tech and marketing here. Share with us, like, what's one or two things that you're most proud of? Maybe it's a story of a way that you were able to help a customer without getting overly personal about their information or anything like that. But you've got 5 years under your belt here with My Family Home Care. What's a story or two that keeps your engine running here? It's why you do what you do.
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say two of the first stories that come to mind, one of them would have been, I think she was our third client. We met her, and she had been put on hospice. And, for a lot of people, hospice is kind of a scary word. But, you're typically put on hospice when your doctor determines that your medical condition is no longer treatable, and it's more about pain management. We met with this client again. She had just been put on hospice, and when we met her, she couldn't really communicate. We met her and her family for the first time, and she was just kind of sitting on the couch, and she was a little bit out of it. She wasn't really participating in the conversation, and we started taking care of her. Actually, I was her primary caregiver, especially early on. Me and my business partner were doing a lot of the work ourselves. And, after just a couple of weeks, what came out of it was, she really wasn't eating, and she wasn't doing the basics of taking care of herself. And so, just by preparing home cooked meals and encouraging her to exercise, she made a complete, very dramatic recovery. And her doctor actually took her off of hospice. So that's one of the stories that we are particularly proud of. And then we had another one. I believe there's a few more, but another one just came to mind. We have a few clients where all their kids have left the state. We have this lonely senior who's here. They don't have any family. Their
Sure.
son is in. They moved to New York or Philly or California. They're all over the place. They had their own careers and lives and things like that. And this was one of those cases. There was a lady who was living by herself, and we set her up. They were looking for a live-in caregiver, which is not something that we typically do. But we were able to set her up with the live-in. And again, she was feeding this lady because she wasn't really feeding herself. And she was there as a companion. And her son told me that, again, she had her next visit with a doctor. And the doctor said that, she was a completely new person. And her son, who I was speaking to, told me that now when he speaks to his mother, she no longer tells him that she doesn't want to live anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, that was, I'm just thinking about that. Obviously, I have my parents and they're still here. And to just the idea of talking to your mom, and every time you speak to her on the phone, she tells you she doesn't want to be alive. That's just awful. And then,
Absolutely.
we just needed some companionship, and she needed somebody to make sure that she was eating right. And, now every time I see her, she's in a wonderful mood, and, where I'm really, really proud.
That's amazing, Matt. It's got to be stories like that keep you going, for sure.
Absolutely. Certainly.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, thanks for sharing that, Matt. Any final thoughts that you wanted to share here?
That's it. That's all I got off the top of my head. I definitely appreciate this. This was fun.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again for being on, Matt. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Again, this is the Multipli Podcast. It's been great having you on, Matt. Thank you, especially for sharing those stories on the back end and for sharing some of your expertise for what's happening in the in-home care space.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.